Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Devahntau Colonel, and welcome to another episode of the Inspired Challenge podcast. So excited to be doing another episode for you guys today. Now, before we get into this discussion here, and this will be I think a very lively discussion. So I'm gonna make y'all hold off on that for a second. We're gonna do some housekeeping. All right, we got some things going on to give some updates about. So as you guys know, we recently crossed 1,000 subscribers about two and a half weeks ago. Where's my? Oh, yeah. There we go. So, in honor with celebrating that, we are doing just a reminder, we're doing the competition, $100 giveaway to the top 3 people, random people who like videos, comment on them, and are subscribed. We're going to pick 3 of you guys out that have, and the way that you really lock in your participation is by making sure you have those comments in. So, if you haven't started on it, you want to be in it, you want to have a shot at getting $100 online for free, literally just participating, just make sure you're doing that before April 19th. April 19th will be the cutoff date, so get it in before then. This is a drive to hitting 1,000 subscribers is one marker. The next marker is getting to 4,000 hours. So you guys, ride with us, help us out. Watch the content as it comes back, come back, make some of your favorite pieces. All of that helps out the show so much, and you don't know how much I appreciate it. And real quick, I do want to give a shout out to Charlene Styles and The Real Blythe, who have been engaging with like everything as it's coming out. Charlene, I think right now is in first place. She's just been going ham, which is crazy because this is a men's improvement podcast. And we have the best engagement from a female viewer. So go figure, you know? Wait, sorry, wrong sound effect. Nope. All right, I still got to label the sound pad, y'all. Now, besides that, we also are getting ready to start rolling out more content similar to what we've been doing recently. So as you guys know, I've recently put out the why I started the podcast video and the why I got kicked out of the house video. And these are longer pieces. These are pieces that kind of go more in depth with very specific things. They set up a picture and walk you through a whole story of it. So make sure you're coming on for those pieces right there, checking them out. All right, you guys, that handles all the housekeeping. So at this point in time, I would like to introduce my special guest. Take it away for him, sir.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Omar Johnson, and I'm here to get in a good conversation with Devahntau.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate what I've seen so far on the podcast, and I want to bring as much value as I can.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you guys, just so you know, the way that Omar and I met, we were both at a networking event called Orlandopreneur. This is an event that we have, and this is going to fold into kind of some of the themes of today, which is we met because we go to events where we put ourselves in front of other people. We allow ourselves to be subject to all kinds of various uncomfortable social situations where you just have to go out and you have to approach someone and talk to someone, step out of that comfort zone, and just be willing to either A, be looked at funny and maybe not want to be talked to, or B, maybe have a really good conversation, a connection where you're able to talk to someone and just build a foundation based off of either mutual interest, mutual benefits, or just maybe there's no benefit immediately, but there's something in the future you can come together on. So I'm excited to sit down here with Omar as well. And this is a cat that he knows how to rock and roll. You'll see him mingling with all kinds of people. He is not. If he is an introvert, he has conquered his introvert tendencies. I'll tell you that, folks.
You know, it's funny. I actually grew up introvert. So here's the thing, though. If you want to get into business or if you want to, start doing something like this, you have to become an extrovert. You can be introvert behind closed doors, but in public, gotta be an extrovert.
Absolutely. And like yourself, I also grew up introvert as well. So This is all
You would have never known.
a studied art here. So, Omar, go ahead and set yourself up for the people so we can have an idea of where you come from.
Yeah, of course. So again, I'm Omar Johnson. Currently just turned 30 last month, February 8th. And I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. Moved down here when I was about 5 years old in Orlando, Florida. And right now, what I do, I'm in the finance space. I consider myself a tax-free income strategist, which falls in line with what we do on the insurance side. So we can get into more about that later, but that is pretty much setting the foundation right there, and then we'll dive in.
Awesome. So, Omar, you are in tax account. Am I saying that right? Tax accounting?
It's tax-free income.
Tax-free income.
It's funny. People would ask you're kind of busy this season, tax season. We actually don't do taxes. We're not CPAs or anything like that. What we do is we educate people on alternative ways to grow their money tax-free, be able to access it tax-free. And it's something that is not educated because, for obvious reasons, they want us to stay at a status quo. And before you know it, the middle class is going to be no more.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up on one side of the fence or the other. And so what we do is we educate people to be able to have a better opportunity to set themselves up. Because I personally believe as long as you do everything and you are proactive about it, you, your family, generations to come will be able to live the life that they should.
Absolutely. It just takes intentionality and planning in there.
Absolutely.
People don't get that money accidentally.
And that was one of the things I wanted to say, because I know we have a younger audience as well. You have to do these things early. Like, I'm 30 now, and I wish that I did what I'm doing now a lot earlier. Not saying that my parents didn't teach me or anything like that, but you also have to understand times have changed.
Yes.
And what our parents have been doing is not necessarily going to be working for us now. The traditional ways of doing things, it's just not it. So you have to be able to be humble enough to go out there and find that information. I think that's one of the biggest things, especially as men.
Yeah.
We have a lot of pride. We don't want to, put down those walls a little bit and, hear from someone else. But it's so important to be proactive in everything you do because before you know it, you could be 20 now, but in 20 years, you're going to be 40 like that. So,
and that's the crazy, it's wild thinking about the fact that I am 29 now. And 18 feels like 3 months ago. So you guys, when you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh, you've got so much time, you do have time if you are making the correct choices. Right. If you're just letting days pass you by, you will lose 5 years in what feels like 3 months. So Omar, what was your base situation like as a child? What was your environment like? Give us your household as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a child, I was in Toronto at that time. So my birth father actually passed away when I was around 2, almost, I would say 2, right? So didn't really know my birth father. There are some, things in the back of my mind where I think it's just a memory that's just stuck, where I have it, something that plays in my head time to time. But I've seen some pictures of his. So my mom then remarried, which is interestingly enough, because they're from Jamaica. They actually used to date when they were younger, because Jamaica is a small island, So it's really nice. My parents have been, so my father now is pretty much my father. He's raised me, and I appreciate that, because as a man, for you to step into another family when that person already has a child, it's tough. And then it's something I actually just recently started to appreciate, because I know he's not my biological father, but he treats me as such. So that's one thing. But growing up, my family is very education oriented. And what I say a little bit later is going to be really funny. But I grew up, so I started kindergarten right before I was 3 years old, which is unheard of, especially here in the States. My uncle was the principal of the institution. Like I said, we are very Christian oriented, so it's a private school. So was there learning everything like that. And then coming down to the States, which my mom has always hated bringing me down here. Not now, but for certain reasons, education, things like that. One of them being when I moved down here, I was 5 years old. I'm already a grade ahead, and then I had to get tested for gifted because the education gap was there. So I want to say one of the things of me growing up, I was normally the only black kid in all my classes. That was the thing. Education's a little bit is different down here. It's gotten better over time, but where I was, especially in the gifted program, I was normally the only black kid from elementary all the way through till about high school is when it started to get a little more diverse because I was in the AP classes and everything like that. And then you're getting ready for college. So growing up with that, and then it was a lot of pressure as well because I'm also a only child. I mean, I have a stepbrother, but I'm the only child. My stepbrother is years ahead of me, so I'm the only one in the house, and my mom is very protective, right? So growing up, it was all about, being on time with your work and everything like that. I could be one of the laziest people you ever meet. Procrastination is like my number one superpower. But thankfully, I do work. Everybody can find ways to maximize, what they have. So even with that being said, my mom was the kind of person that would show up to my school to make sure my homework was turned in. Yeah, let that sink in. Let that sink in, right? And another thing was the way I was dressed. So coming from a private school, making sure, you had your shirt tucked in and everything like that. But here's me coming down to America thinking I'm cool and I'm going to, kind of like have my shirt out, kind of like sag my pants a little bit. Boy, let me tell you. So there's times where I would, you go to school one way and then you change while you're there, or not change, but you kind of makeshift it a little bit. And then all of a sudden mom shows up. You're like,
oh, snap.
Well, let me go fix that real quick. And my mom didn't care. She'll do it in front of everybody. So, yes. And hey, I'm saying all this stuff. Mom, if you see this, I love you. We've had these conversations before. I could not be more thankful than the way my mom raised me, as hard as she did, because I see what's been going on. I see what's been going on. I see how society is now. Even some people that I went to high school with, I see a big difference, and I cannot thank her enough for that. And then my dad, he was working all the time, so he showed me what hard work looked like. And he still works hard to this day. I mean, yeah, he's dialed back, playing more golf, things like that. But that man knows how to work. And so I built a lot of work ethic from him, for sure. So moving on, here's the thing I was going to say earlier. That's funny. I am the only one in my family to have dropped out of college.
Really?
The only one. So I have a lot of doctors, teachers, some pilots, accountants, et cetera, et cetera. So little backstory on that. Me growing up, I was very artistic. I love the anime. Dragon Ball Z is my thing,
Hey,
R.I.P. So, yes. Now, I was very artistic, big in art classes, AP art, all that stuff. And here's the thing, though, and this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, when we live in a different era than our parents live in, right? So I was 17 graduating, and I had scholarships going to art schools that weren't in the state. So my mom already said, no, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be going anywhere else. You're 17. You're going to be going to UCF only. This is where you're going to be. But then it was, I was kind of discouraged to actually do the art avenue because there wasn't money in it. Parents thinking you're going to be like a broke artist kind of thing. Yeah. Right. So that's the thing, though. You see it everywhere. You see it in marketing. You see it in, I mean, social media is all art, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I know you're gonna ask like, what is your motto that you live by? Everything happens for a reason. I have it tatted on my arm here.
Oh man.
I am such a big proponent on that because I wouldn't be where I am today if certain things didn't happen. Some may ask, what would you do if you went back in time? Would you change anything? Maybe one or two, but to be honest, why would I? If this is where I'm at right now, I wouldn't want to change anything prior, right? They're all learning experiences. So back to me being in school. So art wasn't going to be it, but I was very good at math. I was like pre-calc, calc was my thing.
Okay.
So I was going to be an architect. One of my cousins is an architect. I like the idea of drawing things out. I love the design, things like that, right? Wasn't good enough. Let's be an engineer. I'm like, all right. But here's the thing, and I will kind of touch on this. You cannot live life pleasing other people.
100%.
You cannot live life pleasing other people. So it's going to come down to, I'm going to say, your parents are going to pass away one day or another. Hopefully they get to see you grow up first. I hope, but think about it. If you go and pursue something that you're not really passionate about, you can make all the money in the world. It's not going to fulfill you. You see people that are making all kinds of money and they're offing themselves.
Yep.
So that's the thing. Back to that engineering. I was supposed to be a structural engineer.
Ooh.
No. Then I was like, no, bump that. I'm going to get into business. Oh, that's great. Be an accountant. I don't have the personality to be an accountant and sit in the office. Okay. So that is when I said, I'm done with school. And at that time, one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting into martial arts. So everything's happening at the same time now. I got into martial arts when I was 8 years old. And that's when I started developing my real core group of friends that I still have to this day.
Okay.
Which is funny. Me being the youngest, but the way I was raised made me the most maturest. None of my close friends are my age. It's at least a 5-6 year gap at the least.
Wow.
So a lot of those that I grew up with in the martial arts, I was like the kid hanging around until I wasn't a kid anymore. But what I ended up doing when I dropped out of college was, which I went to UCF, I was running the martial arts school at that time. So I did martial arts for 19 years. It was Taekwondo. That was the discipline. I taught Taekwondo, Krav Maga, kickboxing. And
wow.
I ran that location, which was right there in the UCF area, for the last 8 years of me being there. And it was one of those things where I have that entrepreneurial spirit. And even though I'm not in the martial arts anymore, I got a lot of fulfillment out of teaching and helping those families. That's where I got the fulfillment from. So right now, I'm in the business of helping people.
Okay.
Because, like I mentioned before, purpose is everything. And if you're going to dive into any kind of industry, just make sure that you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it doesn't matter how much money you're making, as long as you're doing what you love and you're doing it with the right intentions, with integrity, you're good. So, that's pretty much that when it comes to, growing up. And I faced a lot of adversity while my martial arts career. I had to step up at certain times, which was great. What I love about my martial arts experience is the owner who taught all of us, put us through so many life scenarios. Like if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
I can never take that away. Like the experience that I had in my martial arts time was second to none. Between my parents' upbringing, martial arts, that has really groomed me to who I am today. like mentioned earlier, I was an introvert. Actually, I was put into martial arts because I was an introvert. Like, I was the kind of person that will go to functions. My mom's like, oh, here's this person. And I'm like, okay, hi. I'll like go in the corner and like suck my thumb or whatever when I was younger. I stopped doing that, guys. So, but I was put into there, and then
subscribe to the Patreon for the truth about that.
But so now, this is actually bringing back some memories now. So when I started, I guess that's the thing. A lot of people saw potential in me that I didn't see, and I think that's how we all grow up, really. You know, it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
And where I was, which actually, shout out to Victory Martial Arts. That's where I grew up in. That's where I grew up and took a lot of these like life lessons and everything like that. Self-esteem being one of them. So one of the programs, there is a leadership program where you are actually supposed to be put up in front and teaching class. That is where I ended up learning how to, you know, drop the wall and, of course, be nervous, probably like pee my pants a little bit. Just kidding, that never happened. But having to be in that kind of environment when you have a whole bunch of eyes on you, you're running a class and doing that, that puts so much fire in me. Where I saw that for one, I'm a little vain. Like I do like attention, not gonna lie. So that's probably
that
part of it.
Awareness is great. Self-awareness.
Yes, that's probably a part of it as well. I like recognition as long as I earn it, you know. So being up in front and having that kind of leadership role is kind of what fueled me as well. So having to put myself through that, and then I was moved. Like I was a part-time instructor at the school I grew up in. I was pulled from that like within the same day of me driving to the school. Like, nope, you're gonna go over here now. Now I had to take up a chief instructor position, and then like still a director over me. And then a few years goes by, and like, well, about that whole situation, you're taking I was 17 at the time. I was 19. So you're taking someone that's totally new in that sense, has been teaching, but not like as a chief instructor, to take over a school of someone who's soon to be a master, and is a whole new community and a whole bunch of different students. But that person who was running that school is now my best friend.
Wow. That's awesome.
And you want to hear something funny? If you hear it, just, you know, laugh. I was petrified of that man. Petrified. Oh my gosh. The first time I met him, it was me and a friend of mine in a class, and it was just a private lesson, and he murdered us. And in my mind, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I was petrified. But then when you get to meet someone, and you really get to meet someone, like, then you never actually know them until you actually get to have a conversation with them. Within that first day, like the first week, he took me under his wing. And since then, he's been like big brother to me. So with me moving into that school, I had to be able to kind of bring everybody on my side because they've been with him for so many years. But luckily, he did such a great transition. The energy is the same. Like I always tell my mom, thank God for you raising me the way I am, because I attract people. It's just people feel it, which is great. Not to like sound cocky or anything like that, but just like how we met, like you have the same energy I do. That's why we're here today. We literally met and like, all right, we booked it right there. So with that being said, I've had, and I still have those students like in my phone after all these years. I've gone to their house. I've gone to their kids like wrestling matches and things like that. That's me. I love to support, and I'll be there for them forever. They're now getting their driver's license, and it's crazy. But
that's awesome. Right.
So with that being said, that particular location at one point when it had to actually move locations. So I had to physically move the location to another spot, which is better. It was more of a storefront that was in the front of the plaza. Now, during that time, my director at that time had quit that same weekend. Same weekend.
Holy smokes.
And it was crazy. So
you went from not only you're getting the store and the person that was the chief of it was going to a different location, but also the director quit.
Yes.
So that's like 2 levels of supervision.
So that happened. So when that happened, when I was 19, when I had moved over, I had a director over me for a few years. Like we had a few directors, right? So I was able to build that student body and things like that during that time. But a few years later is when we actually had to move.
Okay.
Now, and it's interesting. I mean, I'm friends with everybody here, but that person was the instructor that got me into martial arts, right? So, and that's a whole nother dynamic that I have to get into. But that whole thing, that was one of the biggest challenges in life because I was faced with 2 options. We had to physically move the location, so it was on me to take that upon me. And thankfully, I have some of the best families that took their time to help me move all the mats and everything like that to this new location. And then on top of that, I had to either take over the school or have another director come in. So I'm like, I've been investing my time in this school 6 to 7 days a week. From 17 to 27, I worked 6 to 7 days a week, 10 years. Ooh. So this is when I kind of left. I wasn't trading time for money anymore. But I was like, no, I'm going to take it over. And interestingly enough, that same month I took it over. I think it was our anniversary month as well for the school. It had a record month. After being open for like, I think 17, 18 years at that time, record month.
What?
So what I want to say about that's not to hype me up because I've had up to this point so many great people in my life that have got me here. But when you're faced with challenges, you got to take it by the horns. All right? Like God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. You know, it's either you're going to crumble or you're going to, push forward. And in that case, I push forward. And it's things like that that have gotten me to where I am today.
Man, there is so much there that I absolutely want to jump into, dude.
I got excited. I was not gonna lie.
So okay, okay, man. So even going into I'm gonna rewind it a little bit here. So you had mentioned like the bigness that you now came to appreciate that maybe as a child, and I think you and I are probably similar because I only just recently realized it within the past like year or so. But the bigness that it takes of a man to willingly step into that role as a stepfather.
Yes. So, yeah, that's crazy. And that's something I give my dad big props to because I know there's times where he has felt like, I'm not your son, like for him to discipline me and things like that. But granted, like I'm like my mom in that sense. Yeah. I have that kind of characteristic where I'm not going to put you down or I have that thought in my mind where you're not my father. Like you're the only person that really raised me. Yeah. And I mean, I remember pictures where he took us to Disney, took us to Daytona Beach. I was like 4 years old. So I don't have any other person to really relate to in that sense. I have seen my father, like pictures of him, and there's actually a funny ghost story with that too. I'll tell you a little bit.
Really?
But I give my dad so much props for being that father figure. I know if he sees this, he might shed a tear or two. But I just wanted to let you know I love you big time. Like, and that's the thing.
Hey, shout out to you.
Shout out to Dad, man. So yeah, and I know it's tough because I know there's a lot of things going on in today's world where unfortunately I believe you need a license to have a child. Okay. And we're gonna like I'm telling you. So I am a big proponent on making sure you're married before you have children. Okay. That's
agreed.
That's vetting out your person long enough. That's a personal thing. It's more traditional. I know we're not as traditional anymore, unfortunately. I really hope that we start getting back to that. But I just personally feel for the child's sake that needs to happen. Sure, it happens. Divorce may happen. As long as you can be cordial enough to make sure the child comes first, then okay. Because there have been dynamics out there where even both of the adults have been remarried. Like I had a family that they had a child together, and then they split. They now have their own families, and they still all came together. They even put the rest of the kids in class. So that kind of stuff is all right. But I'm telling you, with the way things are right now, with a lot of single parents, single moms, it is tough for a man to want to come in because times are a little bit different, and the baby daddy, baby mama drama, I don't know about that. So, it is tough. It is tough, but it does take a real man to step up. So if you ever end up in a situation like that and you are going to be taking that fatherly role, I give you props. Hats off to you, man.
And it's so there's an interesting thought when it comes to that, right? Because it's like it does take like a insanely strong man to be able to step into that role.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, it's interesting how the nature of the attitudes of fathers and father figures and of a single mother is also different from how their natures were previously.
Right.
There used to be a time where, because it was so common that everybody knew that fathers were important, people would seek that out. The mothers were incredibly intentional. And today there are still circles where that is understood, that is agreed upon. However, that circle is a dwindling, shrinking amount of people where it's becoming so much more elective rather than it is like a sense of urgency being applied to the idea. And it's good that we have a dynamic shifting with the younger population. Have you seen the information that said that more young men are becoming conservative-minded than liberal-minded?
Keep it going. Like, man, and what you're saying with it being a dwindling group of people, it's social media, man, and it's pulling us apart. And to be honest, I mean, it could be like a whole conspiracy thing, whatever, but the nuclear family is falling apart. And here's the thing, I can go so deep into that, but if you have a split family, then you're going to have a single income, really. And you're probably going to have someone that's going to need to depend on the government for certain things. And when you have to depend on the government, they also all obviously have more control over what you do. I can go off the deep end with that one. But the thing is, I think social media is so harmful in a sense because everybody wants a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And if you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything. Okay? So, I mean, the ladies out there, you really got to, think about what kind of content you're taking in and what you're going to actually choose to, make those decisions in life. Because I know it's awesome, be a boss babe, do your thing, and that is great. I think every woman should go out there and kill it, do their thing. And at the same time, you have to take what's good and, kind of dismiss what's bad. Because there's a lot of those that have said, I don't need a man, I don't need any of that. But then later down the road, it's like, ouch. And I'm not saying that's every lady. Let me just be completely honest. You can go through and do your own thing. And this is just my opinion, but doesn't it feel amazing to be with that one person? Come on, like it has to. Like as a man, the only thing I want, I'm not in a relationship right now. Took a break from that. It was like 7 years, 3 different relationships. So that's one other thing. You can ask me later.
Smokes.
But there's no better. Like everything I do right now is for that. Whoever it's going to be. Whichever girl's out there, you're going to be taken care of. So that's the thing, though. Like, I feel like as a man, we are working towards having that family because that's where we get our fulfillment for providing,
Yeah.
right? And we can have a whole other conversation about that,
So-
like social media thing, but
It's
that's biological.
interesting. You're going into this, right? And there's an idea that has kind of crept in, and it's even kind of made its way into the church, where the idea is that in relationships, for those of you that do believe traditionally minded, and I know some people, I've had some people on the show where this has come up.
Yeah.
And so the thought is this: every man of a relationship should be the head of the relationship. And then what will happen is the woman of the relationship may say, I don't mind if he's the head of the relationship, as long as I'm the neck of the relationship.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is something that's been a growing sentiment and whatnot. However, I have found that there's actually a Bible verse that actually disagrees with this idea.
Oh.
It is Proverbs 12:4, and it actually says that a wife is the crown of her husband. And when I look at that verse, it's interesting to me because I see it as, and it goes into what you're saying, as you're talking about, you're working on yourself. Whoever you get with is going to be well taken care of. Because I look at that and I say, what is a crown exactly? A crown typically is only something received by those either of royal class or of a person that has done something to such a high degree that they are now given this acknowledgement. And this is something that is placed upon them by one who acknowledges.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny you mentioned about royalty. When you have a wife, you have a wife.
Yes, sir.
That's your
crown.
That's your crown. That's your queen.
My queen.
That's your queen. And then
my sword.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on. Like, here's the thing. And it is so sad to see when women feel like when because there's so many back and forth content out there that kind of bashing heads right now between being feminine, being masculine, misogyny, all that stuff. But here's the thing: as a woman, I can't speak for women, but wouldn't it feel so amazing that you have a man that you're everything to him? That's pretty much what it comes down to. And I know they're like, oh, I don't want to be a housewife, whatever, things like that. But there's nothing, and of course, like, you don't have to be a housewife, you can definitely work and everything. But there's no greater feeling for a man, at least, that he has that one woman that he can call his queen.
Oh yeah.
And I might get a lot of hate for this, maybe not with this audience, so I think I'm safe. But a woman cannot give herself queen title. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I can't. Like, you can't. Here's the thing. If
agree.
you've been married before, sure. But I don't feel like, and then like a king, you can't have a king unless you have a queen. Well, you could. But the thing is, in this sense, you should have a queen, should have a king. Look at the game of chess. And you know how important that queen is?
Oh, yeah.
That queen is the strongest piece on that board. Why don't women understand that these days?
Dude, that's such a good question. Like,
Bro,
the power that there is in a good woman who knows how to build up her man, support him, knows how to play. Man, just the other day, I went to a food drive, and I was volunteering with a buddy of mine. And we meet this woman, recently married within the past year. They're just celebrating their year. He's a soccer player. They got together, married within a year. She decided her role of their relationship is going to be that she is going to run the social medias. She's going to go to these different events, food drive, networking events, all that, in the effort of gaining reputation and spreading his name for.
oh, beautiful.
Brother, I went on this woman's profile. This woman, so his profile is sitting at something modest, somewhere between like 2,000 to 5,000 followers. this woman has been putting in the work, and because of the work she's put in, her husband's brand has now been exposed to the tune of over 193,000 followers.
Wow.
That is
beautiful.
the power.
You can't replace a woman like that, man.
Yeah.
You cannot. And you talk to that man, and I bet he will get so excited to talk about his wife.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Like, that's one of the best things that can happen. I mean, you know better than I do because you are married right now, but there's no better way than to have that synergy. Because like, say, my parents, for example, my mom is a retired registered nurse. She did about 4 decades. And my dad has a trucking company, had it for many, many years. You know who runs the company? My mom. And I will be honest, that company would not be here today if it wasn't for my mom. Like I said, my dad is a hard worker, man. Hard worker. My mom, very business-minded in the sense of, being organized. Women are organized. Oh my gosh. They are the best with organization. And that's what you need. It's not supposed to be clashing heads. It's supposed to be a joining of hands, you know? So that, I'm sure that man has so much to say about his wife, because look at him now. Who knows where he's going to go? And it's really going to be his wife that did that.
Right. Yeah. And just like the light and the love that you can see between them is, I mean, that's something that every man could only wish for his daughter.
Yes.
I don't know about you.
I want to be a daughter dad so bad. Oh my gosh.
So it's funny you say that because I'm actually terrified. My audience knows this. I'm petrified.
I am petrified too. Oh my God.
Of having a daughter in 2024.
Lord.
Because one, of everything she's exposed to, and two, the quality of men on a regular basis that she will run into.
I know.
And
I think that's why it's so important for you to have a certain circle of people that you trust. And know, I understand now why my mom was the way that she was. She censored so much, and I probably grew up with like not knowing a lot. I learned a lot like through my own group of friends and things like that. But I can't thank her enough for being like that. Even though I was like, oh man, I hate your mom. I can't believe you're not letting me do that party. Man, when I think back, I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for being so tough. Like I'm saying. And then for you talking about having a daughter, I want to be a daughter dad, but let me tell you, I'm petrified too, man. That's why my daughter, she's going to be a black belt. She'll be breaking necks if she needs to.
Right.
But it is tough. And especially with the social media, and you've seen it, there's so many younger people. And then here's the thing, like in like different social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, there's a lot you can see. There's a lot that you can see that back then you had you were pulling up some viruses to pull that up. Like seriously, it's disgusting. It really is. And they're censoring the wrong things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're censoring the wrong things. There are certain things that they don't want people to hear. I mean, we can go deeper into that where they're trying to take away the masculinity, that sense. It's like there's only toxic masculinity, and then
there's
what's the other one? There's like no masculinity anymore.
Yeah.
It's like gone. But, that's a whole nother thing. I kind of digress a little bit, but
I want to ask you about, and I know this is kind of taking a whole nother shift here because there was a piece so that sense for you when you talked about dropping out of college and that feeling there, like you were doing a certain thing, and how was your mind frame at that time? Because at this time, you were probably 21-ish when that happened?
Yeah, actually, because I did a few years at UCF. Yeah, so it was like 17, 18, 19, 20.
So this was well within that time frame that you had been doing your martial arts for, I mean, more than almost 15 years at this point. You had established good roots in there.
Right.
And so what do you think part of that was that you saw some of your talents coming out more so with this martial arts thing and that kind of?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, it wasn't, I wouldn't say the word sacrifice. It was more like sacrificing time for money in a sense, because putting in so many hours. But I invested so much into that, into that school, into those students. And it was the community as well that we had through the other instructors that keeps you there, right? It's almost like a chokehold. But here's the thing with my time, even at UCF and doing the martial arts, I had no real college experience. I've been to 2 football games.
Oh, wow.
I did go to tailgates when I could,
Yeah.
but the tailgates would start early, and then I would leave early to go open the school. So, yeah, I had my time. I partied in college. Like, I was part of fraternity. Like, trust me, I had my time. So that's probably another reason too. I wasn't really, too invested with the class and everything. But I mean, I still did good in my classes. But one of the thing as well that kind of discouraged me from that, because here's the thing: I'm not saying don't go to college, but I know it has its place, because if you're trying to be in a career that you need a degree, whether it be doctor, engineer, lawyer, anything like that, I highly, highly suggest you must do it, because you need that. There's other industries where I've seen people go without it and end up with more, because I think the best teacher is experience on the field. And I think that's also why I was so drawn to staying with the martial arts. I had so much experience in that. And I was so successful with it as well. That was like the milestones for me, So leaving school, man, that conversation,
Especially
I didn't hear it.
Because you said your parents were Jamaican parents, right? which also is a whole nother dynamic in there. Bro. Because not only is there the, you said, what now? You want how many switches to the belt? To the belt?
You know how many licks me get? Man, you know how many licks me get?
Oh, man.
But no, it's funny you say that, because it was one of those things where my mom just wants the best for me. And I completely understand that. As any parent, you want the best for your child, right? And so that was very scary for my mom, for me to say, I'm done with that, because she saw that I was investing so much time at the school, not necessarily getting the return. So the thing is, I was just very passionate about what I do at the school. It fulfilled me in that sense. The fulfillment of ownership, since I was running that location, not that I owned it, but I owned the responsibilities of running the school, and I was very good at it. As far as I know, at no point it ever went red. It was always profitable.
I want to ask you about that real quick.
Yeah.
So when you talk about ownership of this thing, that's a powerful word,
right?
The idea of owning, and in a sense, there's ownership of responsibility. There's ownership of relationships, of things that you're responsible for. And we see this come up in the Bible. We talk about how a shepherd, he knows his sheep. He owns those sheep. He owns those relationships. It talks about how God owns us, how we give ourselves to him. Do you think is there any part of your faith that the principles of it bled out into the way that you looked at martial arts, the way that you looked at community in that sense, your education?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And that all comes down to being raised in that whole environment as well. And so the sense of, ownership, why I stayed with the school for so long, because granted, I was really trying to leave for a few years, and that is a common thing, but with that, but I felt like I owed it to my students to give them the best that I could.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that can give them the best. That in my mind. In my mind, I'm the best instructor.
Absolutely.
And actually, I was pretty good. Not gonna lie, God structured the earth a few times. But
And then there's something to be said for the fact that you learn how to communicate with them and where they're strong at, where they need improvements on.
yes,
And
oh
that
my
understanding
gosh, that
can't
is the
be
best thing. Like especially because the youngest I taught was 2.5. I think my oldest was like 70, 72, and the level of respect I received from the parents, from the students, and everything like that, like. That is huge. And communication is the one thing. Communication is a link between the world and me. That's one of the life skills that we learned there. And it's one of those things where when it comes to being able to set the standard,
yeah.
because every school had a different standard. I would say my school wasn't the biggest in the sense of student body. Like there were other schools that had a lot more students.
Right.
But when it came to testing for their black belt, my students wrapped rings around the other students, bro. And there's some other schools that killed it as well.
Yeah.
And they like each school had like their star pupils and stuff. But I drilled my students so hard and followed the structure because we had a structure to follow. And I was very big on the discipline part. And I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciate being in martial arts, especially with Victory for so long, because it was the discipline, the pressure of making sure people are performing. Because here's the thing, these parents are investing in you. Like
100%.
You are the product. They are. They want your child to win tournaments. They want them to pass their belt tests. They want them to get that black belt or receive that black belt. We don't get things here; we achieve them. And so and then I'm one of the instructors that I would fail students. But that's another thing. We don't fail kids anymore. Like they don't know what losing means, and it's doing more harm than good. I understand their feelings. Their feelings, you know, like seriously. I think that there's no such thing as failing. It's only learning. And I'm gonna kind of say a little bit. If these children don't experience what it means to fail, what it means to be told no, what it means to not get what you want, we wouldn't have the kind of stuff that's been going around in our country. You know what I'm talking about, okay? So, and that starts with the parents. So, you know, I kind of like went around there, but hopefully that answered the question.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's this sense of community that you had here, that you cultivated, and this discipline that you put in. I mean, these are all pivotal things that, I mean, that's why people give a hard time to, for example, athletes in school. They say, oh, why do they get special treatment? This, that, da, 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 da. But athletes in school that I know who were not at the top of their academic game, but they knew how to have that culture of discipline, that culture of hustle. Even now, the guys that got girls, you know, pregnant out of high school or whatever, everybody knows them. Even now, these guys are doing really good jobs as far as stepping up to the plate, taking care of their families, being there, being present fathers. There is this idea at the very least that I need to be a dad that's there, and I need to be hustling the heck out of whatever I'm doing because this is my responsibility that I have to own.
Yeah, that actually brings up a point that I wanted to talk about is purpose. Everything wraps around purpose. For, say, a mother or a woman, the purpose is going to be her children, you know, taking care of them and everything like that. For a man, just like how you said, you may have had some athletes, you know, they're good-looking guys, whatever, they get the attention, make a little mistake here, but that mistake becomes their biggest blessing. One of my best friends actually had that experience where he had a daughter, you know, really young. But that man is the best father I've ever seen, bro. Like, I'm telling you, like, he had that daughter, and his life could have probably been very different had it not happened. But like I said, everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And just like how you said, it's hard raising a daughter during these times. Yeah, I mean, still exposed to certain things, but his daughter is like amazing. Like, she has a great relationship with her parents.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's respectable and everything like that. But my friend there that had a daughter too young, he's an amazing father. And now he's married, has his kids and like his boys and everything like that. Amazing father.
Yeah. And so as you did that, the too young thing, I think, and this is something that I don't have like a wholly, what do they call it? Like a dogmatic idea about. But the idea now that people are less prepared, less equipped now to have children at younger ages, like how has been done in previous generations. And we're talking between the ages of your 17 to 23-ish. How much of that do you think that there is validity to? And I mean, I asked this question as we sit here, a 29 and 30-year-old man, no children between the two of us. So obviously there's some, we kind of show our hand a bit there, but do you think that fear there is something that the idea of it has been so catastrophized in such a way? Or do you think that there is wisdom to it?
So saying if it's like so terrible of having a child so young, or if there's good to it, pros and cons, and that's going to be completely situational because we've seen it where they have kids too young, and then the grandparents end up raising that child, right? Or they end up in a home, or a few homes. So it's really going to be situational. And I think that also comes about to what your family is like. Like I said, it takes a village to raise a child. So if you have the right family or the right friends around you, you can make it.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you mentioned earlier, we have seen them step up, but I've also seen some that don't step up.
For sure.
So I grew up at 17, I had this, I'm a very family oriented person. I have a very large family myself, like not me personally, but between cousins and everything like that.
Right.
I remember one time we had my parents' anniversary at my parents' house. It was over 300 people that were there.
Oh,
and that's not everybody. So we have a very large family. So I just love that family-esque. So 17, I'm thinking, by 25, I'm going to have a family, going to have a house, going to do this. But then life happens. And here's the thing I'm going to tell everybody is don't rush it. Don't rush anything.
Yeah.
You're going to want to enjoy your life, but do it right. Like you have to be proactive. You have to plan for these things. If you want to have a family, you got to be prepared for it.
Absolutely.
Like me personally, I'm not going to have one now as much as I would love to. Like I get baby fever because I have all my nieces and nephews, my friends' kids running around. And I like being uncle because I can give them back after an hour. But here's the thing. I want to be in such a high financial state where there's no question on anything. Yeah. We're going to take this trip. You're going to do this sport. I'm going to be there. That's a big thing too. Because nothing against my parents or anything like that. My parents worked hard, and that was just that generation. Yeah. So another thing why I stuck with martial arts so long is because I pushed myself through there. Like I did swimming in high school, track in high school. I did soccer at one point. My dad loved those sports. But when it came to martial arts, my parents were working so much, it was drop me off, go back home, to do their work or whatever, and then pick me up later. That's when I ended up helping classes, and I think that's what kind of dialed into it now. But I kind of touched on that a little bit. But what I said is you're going to want those things, but be prepared for them. Yeah. Right? You can have a child in high school, accident, whatever, but then you have people that step up, like you said. But it's going to be harder. That's the thing.
It will be harder.
It's harder. If you're still going to school, you got to still take care of the child. Then you're wanting to continue to go to school. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but is it the most probable thing to do?
Yeah. So you've hinted on it a couple of times now. So the thing in martial arts that you had mentioned, like being dropped off was one of them, and I noticed you kind of dropped a little hints of it. So what is that there? Where you said part of the reason why it was so big, I got dropped off there extra time.
So when it came to extracurriculars, my parents being so busy, I was dropped off at things and I had to like stay there, stay longer, right?
Yeah.
And it's either one or two things. Like I could just do my class and sit and wait, or I can do my class and help.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a choice in the matter because my instructor was like, yeah, you're going to come and help. But I ended up loving it. I ended up giving back. And that's where I find my fulfillment is giving back to the community, whether it be one person or whether it be a class of 30, 40 at a time. Okay. Like even right now, like I don't train anymore in that sense, but I have a mentee. I'm a mentee with one of these programs that bring adults and kids together. There's a child actually out here in middle school out here. And I've been mentoring him for almost 6 months now.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy. Like I get so much fulfillment talking to that child because when the first session, with him being so timid, he's now so open and has so much more esteem. And it felt good because I was able to bring out some of that instructor in me into that. So with me being dropped off and having to be fully invested of where I was,
right,
that's what kind of trickle effect. And that's probably my mom's like, oh man, you stay in there, you end up, doing it forever. But I will never take that away because those relationships are the best relationships I've ever had, and I still have.
That, and I think that kind of speaks to like a one thing. First of all, I think what you just pointed out was good in that abandoning your kids at certain places is good.
I like how you say it like that. Abandon your place. Don't abandon your kids.
No, okay.
Oh,
but
man,
seriously.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. But that is, there's, like I said, there's two kinds of people. And then even when I was teaching and say we were doing camps. So camps, you're pretty much there from the morning all the way till the end of the day. Like when you do a camp, it would be probably 8 o'clock that you get there, but then you're not leaving until like 9:30 at night because you still have classes. I had students that wanted to stay and wanted to help class. That was me. So, and then there's other kids that are like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
I just want to get in, get out. And it's nothing against either of the two, but that's when you see the leaders step out,
And that's that's truly what I was leading into, not the other point, was that those students that you see, and I have some students as well, my 6th grade boys that I lead, and you really do see that huge difference of the students that as soon as that they can get out the door, they are, versus the ones that are lingering and they're like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, is there anything I can do to help? Like, these students, you typically notice that they end up being some of the more emotionally intelligent ones. They have the clearer head on their shoulders, and typically they have a clear parental structure going on at home.
Yes. It's so as you were saying it, I was thinking it because I can think of so many students because I had such a strong, black belt student body that were helping classes and everything like that. But it's so funny you say that because those were the students I was the hardest on. Like I have few, and this is so funny about the parental guidance. I would say more of my foreign parents were the tough ones. Like, hey, if you need to smack my child, smack my child. Like, I mean, don't come after me. Discipline them, and you discipline kids differently. And you see it. You can see it everywhere. You can see it in the grocery store. You can see how kids are disciplined. But with that being said, with the way that they're raised, for one, and again, their parents trusting me to mentor them, they did develop a heck of a lot of emotional intelligence, and it bleeds into every part of their life. Every single student I have that I'm still or black belt, whatever, that I'm still in contact with their parents, or at least on Facebook, they're now the best on their baseball team. They're leading their chorus.
Dang.
They're leading their band. They're on their wrestling team, killing it. Like, they are doing all these other tournaments, still getting first, second place, whatever. They're getting like all these scholarships going off to college and things like that. And these are like, I felt like I played such a big part in that. But it's through all that adversity, because I was hard on them. I put them in positions where, like, one of my best students, like just like me, I forced them, go teach that class. I'm right here with you, but you're gonna do it. Go help that student. Go talk to that parent.
Yeah.
You gotta put them in real life situations so they can be prepared for the future.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't do that, then life is going to teach them. Okay,
And
like
when
if
it
you don't do
teaches,
anything,
don't have
life
no
is going to
training
teach
gloves.
you. I'm telling you. So that's the thing. So yeah, that's a good question, man. And very emotional intelligent for sure. And I believe martial arts has a big part of that. So if you ever have children or have ever done or haven't done martial arts yourself, just do it. Don't have to get like fully invest into it, but that kind of discipline, that mindset, it really paves the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. The piece with where you had mentioned, so that was your community of young men that you were pouring into, which falls in line with there's when I talk to some guys, my big thing when it comes to as far as how he should establish himself, and even when it comes down to vulnerability, how to do that, I have an ideal that it is mandatory for a man that he has, and this is if you want to be the type of man that I'm talking about being, folks, by the way. If you don't believe in this, then, you know, that's a whole nother thing. But man must have his relationship with God on point. And I think it is becoming more mandatory for men nowadays, because as far as the men that we're seeing be more happy, it is the guys that lean into that role of masculinity, that role of God, that role of order and structure. So relationship with God on point, have a community of men around them, peers that they can go left and right to, and then that they have the community of those that rely on him that a man pours into.
Right.
And so what's amazing to hear about your story is you have this clear relationship of authority when it comes to your parents, when it comes to God, in a sense. You have this relationship with your students, and you've mentioned, and I wanted to ask more about some of these times that you've gone through and experienced with, for example, the person that you talk about you fear that you're still friends with to this day, and even just how you go about cultivating these masculine relationships that you have around you, and what that's looked like throughout the years.
Absolutely. So growing up here, well, I found my calling, my purpose in martial, and I'm talking about martial arts a lot because it was more than half of my life. So
Absolutely.
it really set me to where I am today. And my closest friends are out of that, which we're about to get into. With me being the youngest, not only in school, but in the martial arts, in the sense of the people I was around, because I was also the youngest instructor at that time. Me and a friend of mine were he's like a few years older than me. But the youngest at that time. So we're trying to be accepted into that group. It's a very elite group of instructors, like badasses, man, badasses. So you're trying to get accepted. So you're, doing your best. You're getting beat up by them because you want to be pushed and stuff like that. But you want, as a man, you want to be around the kind of people that you want to become. That's one of the biggest things, even for me now. Like when I was doing my goals for this year, I did it like in October, November. Doing the goals for this year, I was like writing goals, but then it actually turned into writing notes to myself. It was the craziest thing. I had some like high frequency music in the background. By the way, that because I'm sure I got ADHD. I'm like all over the place. But when you have something like that in the background, you just dial in, you can get really focused. But me saying, oh yeah, I want to do this. Like, no, well, it starts like, okay, you are going to do this. This is going to happen. Like I'm now writing like a monologue to myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things was I was going to lose friends this year.
Okay,
friends.
that's a
Not that I was going
plan
to lose
for that.
acquaintances.
Yeah.
And I'm a very likable person. I know a lot of people, like things like that. But when it comes to the people I want to actually devote my time to or invest my time with, because you have to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
And protect what goes into your head,
Mm-hmm.
protect who you are with. And that was one of the things I wrote down. Not saying I'm going to be like cutting people off,
Right.
but people have a place in your life and there are certain buckets that they're going to be in. And it's not to like downplay anybody like that. Everybody has a purpose in your life, you know? But this year when I wrote it for this year saying that I was going to be losing friends, it's really those who are closer to me. So I have now gotten closer to those that are, want like where I want to go. And even maybe we're at the same level, but we have so much more that we want in life. So we're going to continue to work for that. And I think that is so important. So even like with my best friend now, who I feared at first and became my best friend, I just give him a lot of props because he saw something in me at that young age to say, let's do this. There are some business ventures we did. We've done all kinds of things together. And now just seeing how he's growing and blowing up, and I'm like, I want to be there. Now we're doing this. Like, you do great. I'm doing, and then that's another thing. You don't compete with the people that are up top. They want to collaborate with you. Only the people that are below you or think that you're doing better than them, think that you're being cocky about it, those are the ones that want to compete with you. And that's the thing, because think about it. Like, anybody that's up there that has made it, why they keep making it is because everybody wants to see each other win. That's the thing. So you want to be around those kind of men, those kind of people that want to see the best out of you and themselves, so you can keep growing as a community.
Man, that's so big, and like it speaks to an effort that I recently put together where I'm in a couple different groups and whatnot, and one's a podcasting group, and I put a post up saying, hey, if you want to be in a group of people, I'll match you up with 11 others of like-minded types of content. So now every time you have a new video, give it, post it into the group chat that we'll make for you guys, and boom, engage with each other's stuff, leave feedback, do this stuff, react to it, and just give each other feedback. The idea being, okay, like-minded people, you guys can give each other something to grow. And I'll tell you, man, somehow somebody found a way to be upset with the concept of, why are you going to have a group of 12 people all together, da-da-da? And it's so interesting, like, it seems like people don't understand the idea of surrounding yourself with the type of people who, one, have similar vision and aims as you do, who are looking in a growth-minded manner to go somewhere. And when they see people trying to get together in that way, they want to stand from the sides and toss some stones at.
Because they know they don't belong. They know they don't belong. Deep down, they know they don't belong, man. And I've seen it before. Man. I've seen it in my own friend group.
Really?
And that's the thing. It's like you slowly, not that you're just going to cut them off, but you slowly, distance yourself. And here's the thing that I love to say, and it's really messed up. I believe in natural selection. Big time. Like, I believe it. Big time natural selection. I'm telling you. Like, here's the thing. That particular person who's giving you shade for wanting to put together that group, he's a bottom feeder. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to say it, but here's the thing. If we're going to talk as men, then we need to be very upfront about it. There's no sugarcoating things. I didn't even sugarcoat things with any of my girls that I taught. And my girls were tough, man. My girls beat up the boys all the time. You can't sugarcoat anything, because here's the thing. If you sugarcoat it now, life is going to hit you with something different. Very true. I would rather be the person to tell you this is how it is and you need to tighten up before life tells you, and then you have to deal with it a different way. So I do believe in natural selection, and some people may say that's messed up. I think it's just very true.
I mean, and it is true, especially in the world as a man. If you're going to go through this thing and you have doggone 3 parts below your waist who all work in harmony to bring life into the world, you better learn that the world is natural selection. Absolutely 100%. My man, we have gone to all kinds of great places here. Now, I want to pick your brain as far as financial wisdom goes,
Right.
and get some tidbits that people right now may be sleeping on as far as understanding what they need to be doing right now to be preparing themselves financially well for the future. Where are people absolutely slacking and lacking in understanding and in action?
So great question. And I can kind of get into a little bit of what I do, but I want to keep it, surface level in a sense, just broad, because it's just something across the board that needs to be done. Because even me, myself, I wish I had taken action on something like this before.
Yeah.
Times have changed. Our parents were the kind of people to save money.
Yeah.
Saving money does you nothing. What you should have is for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And that's it. The rest of your money, you got to find ways to invest it, whether it be in your own business, and if you want to, get into stocks, anything like that. The strategies we use is those that are actually safe from stock and market, from market volatility. It's going to compound for the rest of your life, and also no taxes. Because here's the thing, income taxes, they were supposed to be temporary. But the government loves that tax revenue.
Oh, man.
To the point where you can decide when you pay taxes in the sense of, do you want to defer your taxes or do you want to pay them now? So that's when you have like some traditional accounts where you can do tax defer, like 401ks, things like that, or tax free, like Roth IRAs, things like that. They created the Roth actually because people were realizing that they're going to be paying more taxes in the future. So here's the thing. You can be, let's say you're making, 50 grand a year. You're taking a percentage away from your actual take home income to be put into a 401k, for instance. So you're not paying taxes on that, and the company's probably matching you. Here's the thing. You're probably saving $1,000 on taxes, but you're going to be paying right now, the highest tax bracket is 37%.
Yes.
You're
Insanity.
50 grand now. If your accounts perform well over the span of you being, say, 20 something to 65 when you're ready to retire, you're probably going to have a few $100,000, if not close to $1 million in that. I mean, average account right now is 213, I think, which is pretty low. No one can live off that for a long time. But let's just say it's going to be 500 plus $1 million.
Yeah.
Your $1,000 that you're saving, let's say you're working from 25 to 65, that's like 40 grand, right? $1 grand a year. You're going to be paying 37%. Let's just call it $1 million. That's $370,000 you're paying to the government before you see a penny of that.
And this is taking from the Roth? Like once the Roth comes out?
So what it is, that's why they created the Roth. Because people realize that you're going to be paying more taxes on those other kind of accounts.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing. Here's the thing. And like, you got to have some kind of retirement account because we're not young forever.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people because here's the thing. I'm in the insurance space. And when I was doing Medicare, I talked to a lot of people that were of age, already retiring, wanting to retire, cannot retire. Like right now, I'm talking to some state employees. They gotta push it back because pensions are not the same. Social Security pensions are gonna be like, and you gotta invest in yourself. That's the biggest investment you're ever gonna make. So when it comes to the finances, this audience is like 20s, like a little bit younger, high schoolers, college students. Do not hesitate. I know partying is so fun and you want to spend money on it because that was me. But learn from me, and I'm sure other people that you can find, like great people on podcasts and stuff like that, like Devahntau here. You want to start investing your money, even if it's $100. You would be surprised how far $100 can go a month to set up for your future and your family's future. So that's my advice. Like, you can get with me so I can teach you about that. But so important because I've seen the other side and I don't want it. And say my parents, for example, they make great money, but the thing is with a trucking business, the overhead is so high. So yeah, you can make all the money in the world, but if your overhead is like 90% of what you're making, it doesn't make any sense.
Between overhead and taxes,
yes.
If you make $1 million, but your overhead is 60% and you're getting taxed at 37% on that, like, why are you in business?
Bro, I'm telling you. So you must have your money work for you. Because like I mentioned before, back in the day, it was saving money. Saving money does not do anything because when you save money, inflation is real.
That's what I was going to say. Like, even if we just look at inflation in the past less than 5 years, the past 3 years, ever since COVID stuff happened, things have gone up literally like 35% in a lot of cases.
Yes.
And the same $100 is now literally like $72 to $75 worth of what you can get. My shopping cart gets smaller and smaller of what I can get. $50 is like avocado, eggs, bacon, and some bread. And maybe like, a couple things of soy milk that my wife likes.
Yes. Cost of living is a real thing, man, and it's going to go up, it's going to go down, but you want to be in a position where you're not having, I don't believe you should have to dial back on things just because of the way the government is performing. Because here's the thing. Are we the ones that are hiking up these numbers?
Heck no.
No, it's what's going on in the world. So when you have, that's why it's so important to have your money work for you. When you have your money sitting in a savings account, for example, it's getting 0.01% return. It makes no sense to have money sitting there. You gotta get it working.
I want to ask you about something called, have you ever heard of REITs?
REITs? No, I have not.
No? It's something that my uncle founded a while ago, and it's this thing where you can put anywhere from $5,000 up to like $50,000, and it goes to people who invest in basically properties. So this might be a golf course, this might be building an apartment, et cetera, and they can have this money and use this money as they desire to have these things, and they will give you a return of the percentage of it, which may be something like 10 to 15% based off of property, or you can give your money to them as a hard money loan, which is what he did, and get 20% back by the end of, I think it's the year term.
Got you.
What are your thoughts on something like that?
Interestingly, you talk about that because me and my team have been working on something.
Really?
Just can't really talk about it because I had to sign a little something.
Oh, for sure. The
NDA. The NDA, But what is beautiful about that and what you're just referring to is you're able to help people that probably, it's not that they can't help themselves, they just need the resources to do it.
Right.
So something like that is it's an option. Like your money is going to work for you. As long as you are going to make a return, then it makes sense. With what we're going to be doing, we'll be able to help people that we weren't able to help before, which is beautiful because I think everybody should have that fighting chance, to really live a fruitful life. Because unfortunately, money does buy happiness. Like, I mean, money is not what brings you happiness. It's the freedom of time, the freedom of opportunity, the freedom of options to eat here, go there, and not have to think about it. So I believe everybody should experience that. So something like that would be good, that you're having your money work for you in some way, shape, or form.
And I guess I wanted to pose this question to you as someone who's in that world, because it's something that I think, so for example, my uncle has approached different business owners about this, and they might hear it, and some of them have heard of it, and they go, oh yeah, I know about that. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and I have not understood the depths of it enough to really know how much extra I guess baggage might be associated with it. So I don't know. So anything that, I'm asking people like, hey, what's this thing that you know about? What,
Right.
what do you have to speak on?
So here's the thing. And this is probably what discourages a lot of people, because we have gotten to a point where we just want to be told what to do. And that's why we are where we are right now.
Yeah.
That's why people don't look outside of traditional ways of doing things. My name drop. It's a big name, Dave Ramsey. Like he ain't that great when it comes to certain things. Like paying off certain things, great. But when it comes to really making sure you're having that generational wealth, and not always the best. And some things work for people and that won't work for others. But you got to put in your research. So with what you said about, it looks like it's a lot of baggage. So what? If you want to invest in real estate, you can't just trust anybody to do it. I mean, hopefully you have somebody trustworthy as a real estate agent or a mortgage lender or whatever it is. I have those too. But you're going to want to understand it. If you want to get into stocks, you're going to want to learn it. Sure, you can have a trader or whatever like that, but you want to have at least a good understanding where we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because this is your future you're talking about. And if you're going to be investing in it, then take it seriously.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter what kind of learning curve it is. Because here's the thing. You can be 30 years old and like, oh man, I don't know, that's just too much. 5 years passes. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that's just a lot to learn. Another 5 years. Before you know it, you're 6 years old wondering, I wish. That's the thing. You can't be an I wish man. You can't be an I wish man. Like, take the action. Whatever you need to do it now when you're young and healthy and you got all this energy so you can chill in the future.
Absolutely, man. And I know we are coming up on our time, usually about 2:30ish, I think. So I want to go ahead, make sure to be respectful of your time here. Yeah. And we'll go ahead and head towards the closing up segments here. So you guys, just as a reminder, if you liked Omar, you want to check him out a little bit more, you want to connect with him, I have his handle for all social media platforms in the description below. Feel free to go in there, search him on Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram. It's going to be Instagram more so. Yes. That's you, yeah.
From the live?
No, from the video you did before.
It is from that. Sorry, you guys. We got some technical.
Oh, no, it stopped.
Now it stopped.
I think we're good.
I have never had that happen while live streaming.
It's a lot of energy out here. That's why. But so yeah, Instagram, Facebook is more of a personal one. I do need to get like that going on the business side. So yeah, 1 second, everybody.
Oh my goodness. What the heck? That was so weird.
Yeah, I was playing the videos there. But yeah, Instagram and Twitter, or X, I should say, Twitter X, TikTok is at Shanson Johnson. I would say Instagram is where I'm most active, and I have content there that I make. So you will have a better understanding of what I do. And just like I gave little tidbits here, it's the same thing I do there. Bite-sized information, and then all my information is there. If you want to book a call with me, free consultations, we talk. You ask any questions you want. I'm just big on the education side because I believe everybody needs to know what's out there.
Absolutely.
They make their own choice, but you need to know.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Especially, guys, if you're trying to set your life up, if you're trying to, at some point, be pursuant of a quality woman, a woman that you want in your life that you can take care of, that, like the finances, you got to be on point with that. If you want to pass down your knowledge and wisdom, your experiences, have fun with the young son one day, you got to have things set up. So don't slack on that. Don't sleep on that. Just learn a little bit. It seems like a lot, but take just one step every day. Learn a different term every day. By a year from now, you'll be so much more educated on it all.
Yes.
So at this time, Omar, I would like for you to give 3 pieces, either from this conversation directly. Actually, yeah, let's limit it to the scope of this. What are 3 things that you want the audience to absolutely take away from this conversation that we've discussed and all today?
Yes. So everything happens for a reason. Okay. I know we touched on that a little bit there, because as men that want certain, because we're very controlling in a sense. So just understanding, whoever here is religious, whatever you believe in, like trust in God, trust in the universe, whatever it is, because everything happens for a reason and the time is coming. That's something that's why sometimes my mom's like, you're so chill. I'm like, yeah. I mean, why am I going to get upset about it? And it's so easy for men to get upset about certain things if it doesn't go your way. But when you just remember that everything happens for a reason, you can be so much more optimistic about what's going on.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. I believe we touch on stoicism. Okay. You have to have a strong foundation. Okay. You gotta better yourself, whether it be, your mind, body, spirit, finances, like Devahntau was talking about. If you want to be able to have that family that you so dream of, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to provide for them. Okay. Whoever is on this platform, like, totally ignore what's going on in social media when it comes to pointing men and women at each other, because it's not supposed to be like that. They're made from our rib. We're supposed to be working together, right? There's a whole thing right now going on where they're trying to emasculate men and masculate, is that even a word? Masculate females. But you'll be surprised how many are out there that actually get it. And there are some out there that are like right on the fence, like, oh, I'm seeing a lot of this, but is that really how it is? But once they meet someone or they're listening to something like this, then they can actually get a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's doing a lot more harm than good. One of the things is protect yourself, meaning protect what content you're digesting, whether it be what you're watching, what you're listening to. Be very mindful of who you hang around, because if you're with a lot of negative people, who are you going to be?
Absolutely.
The next negative person. If you're going to be around a lot of positive people, who are you going to be? The positive person. If you're around a lot of broke people, who are you going to be? That broke person. But if you are around a lot of those who are pushing to be their best self financially, relationship-wise, whatever it is, it's just going to happen. You're going to get exactly what you were asking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, thank you so much for that.
Yes.
And that's, you guys, make sure, rewind that, listen to it a couple times, because can't be overstated enough.
Thank you. Dropping some gems today. Fired up.
Now, the next segment is, what are any 3 questions that you may have for me? I will answer them completely honestly.
Wow. Put me on the spot.
Feel free to take some time on this.
Yeah. I mean, one other thing, I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but and I'm sure they've probably heard it as well, but why is it that you feel so inclined to want to take your time to buy this equipment, to do your own editing, is what I can see here. You got your new soundboard here now. Like, why are you so infatuated with doing this for this group of people?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's and it's such a personal reason too. So the big reason for me of why it became this like raging beast in my head is that I was exactly the young man that I am now trying to reach. There is so, as you pointed out, there's so much out right now in terms of men versus women, and then content that is trying to give men advice on things, but the content is too feminine. I can't tell you how many videos I watched on how to attract a woman, and then you try those things out in real life, and you're just like, you're kind of the creeper guy. So, a lot of the advice on how to be attractive to women is from an incredibly effeminate point of view. Either it's effeminate from the point of view of it's literally woman giving the advice, and so they're giving it from this like soft side of it without including the more masculine elements that are involved.
So easy.
Exactly.
You can't ask a fish how to fish.
Exactly. And then from the men's side of it, there is an ability to give it more straight because you seek out people who are successful with it. But then with that comes a whole nother subset of beliefs where now it's, if you're going to do this, you may have more freedom to go out and to be with an excess of women if you want, or you may have an inclination to heavily distrust women instead of just understanding the differences between them.
Right.
So,
right.
And the biggest thing was I saw all of these perspectives and they were all completely devoid of God. And that's why I hinted on it, saying that a man that is out of touch with his relationship with God, and this is all things authority-wise, a man thrives in an environment where there is structure, discipline, and authority.
Yes.
And that's why, as you laid it out, it perfectly encapsulated how what I said is true. Because you try and be a man who is allowing yourself to be open-minded to what's going on in the world right now, you're going to find yourself alone, confused, overly sensitive. People are going to find you needy and clingy, people-pleasing. You're going to be everything that at a certain point I was closer to being. And then at a certain point, I got further away. I got far enough away from that where it wasn't as bad, but then I went further and then I had to reel it back in by putting the Bible in context with it as well. And so if I can help a young man, I started looking at certain types of content to, we mentioned being introverts. Around the same time I did my studies of how to be less introverted, I was also doing, younger than that, maybe 14, how to get women to be attracted to you, And so this is a 15-year learning journey that I had been on. And, you saw the scene evolve from, your pickup artists to your guys flirting with girls on college campuses to now your red pill guys. And there has never been a that I've seen. I'm coming to learn that they do exist, but they are just so in the pockets and the niches of who they hit. And so I want to create a podcast style format that teaches all of this, but it does it in the space of social media that young men can see. And not even necessarily that I would be the greatest teacher of it, but that I can bring together a conglomeration of men with enough different experiences that they can pick up from the people who have done something that they want to do, as you expressed, and they can say, let me emulate what this person is doing.
Right. Because you touched on a lot of good stuff there, because there are people out there, men out there, that do have a big platform as well, that are saying, what is right. There's extremes and then there's right down the middle, the truth. But the thing is, what sells? What gets the attention? The drama. What gets the drama? The people bickering. You see some guys will go on campus and do some random little study or switch your phones with the girl and all that. I'm not gonna lie, I find that stuff entertaining too, But unfortunately, if you are when you're younger and you are still learning, you're still a sponge. So you're now taking the not so pleasant things.
Yeah.
Then you start disregarding like who or what a woman can be. You're now downplaying it just because there are bad ones out there, but there are a lot of good ones out there too.
Yeah.
You just got to take your time and search for it. And that's another thing. Don't rush into it, you know? And so with you doing something like this is so powerful. And I hope you have like hundreds of thousands, watching this, because this is great what you're doing. And I've been seeing some of the other videos that you do, and this is the kind of stuff that people need to hear, because society is going away from God, And so, but I also feel in many different ways that society is starting to wake up. It's going to correct itself.
Yeah.
It has to correct itself. And if not, Noah's Ark. Like, so.
And if not, Noah's Ark.
I'm saying, but you can't fight biology. You can't fight nature. You can do whatever you want. Like, out of nowhere, you can have we live in Florida, hurricane, boom, can flatten us. I mean, we're at zero sea level. We can be underwater like that.
Right.
So that's the thing. Like, I believe, like, yes, like we've gotten far as society, far away from God and things like that. But, and that's like another question here that just dawned on me. We both go to church. You go to a non-denominational?
Yes.
I believe that is, I bias in a sense. I think that is one of the best ways, not in the sense of, the religion aspect of Christianity, but I feel like it is the most welcoming, the most understanding.
Yeah.
Because anybody can come off the street and feel comfortable in an environment like that. If you go to a Catholic church and things like that, you can't do that. You got to make sure you're dressed this way. And yes, I believe you should dress nicely going to church and things like that. But so what?
Yeah.
If you're just coming off the street, that one sermon can change your life.
Absolutely.
And what? You can't go in there because you're not dressed properly?
Right, because you don't have a tie on.
You don't have a tie on? Exactly.
No slacks on.
What are your thoughts on that when it comes to different parts of Christianity, and what's going to be the most influential?
Man, that is quite a question there. Holy smokes. So when it comes to Christianity, the different sects of it, and what's going to have the biggest influence. So right now, I fully acknowledge the fact that, man, there is a cultural trend towards people wanting to pick up Islam, the Islam. Am I even referring to that correctly? Islamic belief, and pick that up because of the sense of order and structure that there is, and the seriousness of which they take it. And also, I look at people that purport themselves as Christians right now, and I think of the people who are, whether it's mainline Christian churches that are now beginning to become more like the world, or even people like from, for example, the Daily Wire, your Candace Owens, your Michael Noses, things like that. And I see so much in the way that our culture treats Christianity is truly like the punching bag and the cleaning glass jar of vinegar that they used to clean off the feces on walls.
Wow.
In the Bible, there's a piece where Jesus is thirsty, and they use a stick, and they put a sponge on it, and they put it in this vase, and it's got vinegar and salt. And like I said, they go and they put it to his mouth to say, "Hey, here, drink." And this is the same exact vat that they use to clean feces. That sponge is used for that purpose.
Wow.
And it's insane because I see now that this is essentially what is happening to the religion of Christianity, is that due to the way that certain practitioners are, that is I can get on my Facebook feed right now, because I used to be a progressive Democrat, like not super anything, but I had a lot of friends that lean that way. And when I can probably scroll for 2 minutes and find 10 posts of people just straight up mocking Christianity. You don't see this when it comes to Buddhism, to Islam, to any of it, from when it comes to progressive or liberal minded people.
Yeah.
It is only the closest that they will come is saying religion is da 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 da. They will not say Buddhism. They will not say Islam. They will only say Christianity is da 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 da.
Right. I believe, because even me personally, right? Like I grew up in the church and everything like that, but no one can tell you or make that decision for you to find religion. You got to find it on your own.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, I've always believed, never had a doubt, but then I actually got baptized again, last year? But that is something that I had to come to fruition. Like my mom growing up, I was like, oh, stand up and sing in church. I mean, I'll stand up like singing. Like she was like, do it. But that's something that you got to feel. So that's another thing. It's funny you say that because it's something that was on my mind. Christianity, I feel if everything were to take a non-denominational approach, people would be a lot more open to it, because the interesting thing is Islam, Buddhism. I've seen some posts from friends that would say, post something and that's Buddhism, and I'm like, that's out of the Bible. Like, I don't think people really understand every single thing, every single ideology, every single like discipline, like life, whatever it is in the Bible. You can
100%.
literally find it in the Bible. But the thing is, it's unfortunately been giving such a bad exposure. Like when you're forcing something down someone's throat, it's going to be regurgitated. And that's the thing. That's the issue. But then you'd be surprised how many people didn't believe before, had some kind of, dire situation in their life, and they find it on their own.
Well, and that's my experience. So, and that's why, and this is getting to the heart of your question, right? Is that, what do I think of the denominational? So I would agree, because when I stepped back into Christianity, what got me back in was a 5'6" redheaded girl who danced her heart out and was just full of joy. And I said, that's interesting. And then she talked more about her church, and her church had their ministry up on YouTube and on social media. So I'm like, what? A church does that type of stuff? And that ended up becoming the place where I worked out so much of my demons, going through the story of Joseph, having great pastoral teaching, having small groups that then were able to plant me in the faith, developing a community of men around me. Like, it was the openness of the non-denominationalism and I had already decided that I needed to turn away from everything that I believed in that got me in that situation.
Right. For
those of you that want to hear about all that, I got the video up. I got kicked out of my house. Sets the tone. So I knew I wanted a structure set, but I didn't want something that was super strict. Right. I wanted something that gave me guidelines of what to do, but not bracelets and cuffs of what to do.
Right.
And what's funny now is that as I sit here 2.5 years later, a lot of my beliefs that I believe in and practice and hold strongly to myself have actually gone to be as strict as some of the beliefs I was taught as a child.
You'd be surprised.
I am actually more strict on my beliefs spirituality wise than even my church is.
Yeah.
To the point where, and you know, I'll let you go decide if you want to pull on this thread, but I didn't even celebrate Easter really because
I didn't have a choice.
Fair. Because of convictions that I had. And, you know, I look at several different factors and I just decided, yeah, I'm not going to do Easter. And my wife has.
Yeah. Oh, no, finish what you're saying.
I
Finish what you're saying.
was just going to say, my wife, you know, she's had the tradition that she celebrated her whole life. And when I told her, hey, honey, I mean, if you want to celebrate it, you want to go to church and join in that, you can. I'm not going to do it because my convictions tell me that Easter is just not a thing that I want to do. I'm not going to push it on you. And she chose to join me in, you know, my decision of that. So I have to give major credit to my wife on that.
Got you. Wow. Yes, that's huge. And one of the things, like, there's so many different kinds of Christians out there. One being, I want to be considered a Christian, but I'm really not. It's really cool to be a Christian. Like, trust me, it's cool. Sometimes behind closed doors, like because you don't want to. It's also hard of a conversation to have because, you know, as Christians, we're all like crusaders in a sense, and you want to have that conversation openly, but then you got to be so like mindful of like who's listening and things like that. That was me. I was one of those Christians that, I mean, I was kind of going through the motions. And even now I catch myself going through the motions sometimes, but I am so mindful of, you know, what he's doing in my life.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, I have like all of this here is biblical stuff. And that's why everything happens for a reason so close to me, because God has plans, man. And let me tell you, like, and it's one of those things where you don't realize it until it happens. And you're like, okay, I'm listening. Because that's happened to me many times.
Yeah.
And now it's at the point where it's gotten to the point where I understand if I want to get to where I need to go, I need to get closer to God, because he is the one that got the plan.
Absolutely.
Okay. He gave me these abilities and everything like that. So, kind of like where I was going with that was you find a lot of Christians that are silent Christians, you know, kind of going through the motions. But like I mentioned before, and like what's happened to you, no one's going to do it for you but you. Like he's seeking you out, but you really got to open that door, you know, because his door is wide open.
Oh, yeah.
And you could walk in at any time, but you got to let him in. And that's the thing. And that's the one thing I had to work on, you know, over the years. And that's the thing. It's not an overnight thing.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Even your best pastors are still, you know, working through certain things. And we're human. We are human. All he wants us to do is just do the best that we can.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, where that's why I like the non-denominational, because they reassure you that just because you mess up, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. When you go into some other sects of it, they're like, whoa, like, like I have to be. And I'm sure, you want to live closer to how he lived and things like that, but it's not that serious. Like, it really isn't. Like, and when the more you read into it, and the more you just kind of just take it day by day, it's really not that serious. And I think that's what deters people from it as well. Yeah. Because they feel like they have to be perfect. It's almost like, I'm going to get in shape before I go to the gym. Like, you can't do that. You just got to dive in.
And so I think a lot of people are, I agree that some sects are just like really strong, pushy on it. But really the biggest thing is, the place where it starts to be more stringent and more like strict and like you better have things on point is only once you pick up that mantle of being like a leader and a teacher to other people. Right. So like, for example, the measure used against a pastor is much larger than the measure used against the hurting man that's for walking in on his first day. God looks at those different men very differently.
Yeah.
The only people in the Bible that Jesus got violent against, physically violent against, was Pharisees. He didn't pull a whip out on anyone else, flip any tables on anyone else. It was against those who were supposed to be in the highest position. So
Hypocrisy.
absolutely,
That's really what it is. Yeah.
at that level, that's where I see the stringentness more so. But yes, if you're a young man and you're just looking for something to guide your path, I promise you, this right here is going to guide you a lot better than searching for all these different philosophies to understand between all these different men that you're going to see on all kinds of different social media platforms and whatnot. Choose this thing right here. Allow yourself to take it to heart and to practice what you're learning for 6 months. I challenge any man to do that. And if you don't see progress in 6 months, come to me. I will drive wherever you are and let you punch me in the mouth.
Wow. That's funny. But that's so funny though. But that's the thing. People also have to be able to you have to put in 100% for at least some period of time.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say things don't work, just like maybe their faith or a diet or whatever, but because they're not all in.
Exactly.
You gotta be, once you're all in and it doesn't work, like you said, okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
100%.
Then we make some pivots, or it's just not for you, whatever. But this is all for you, okay? But the thing is, you can't talk bad about something if you have not gone all in on it.
Exactly. If you're straddling 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out, you never even entered the room fully to take in the fullness of it. I know so many people that have cast it off and they were always straddling the line. More than likely, not even straddling the line. They were more so on the outside of the line, looking around at what they see other people doing, learning a little bit about what they see on social media, people that they know who aren't following, and they've made their decision based off of that experience instead of stepping into the room themselves, 2 feet in, 2 arms in, head facing forward, looking at the room themselves.
Yes.
And that's where the disconnect happens.
That's very dangerous, man, especially when we're so quick to go through 5 to 10-second reels. But had you watched that whole thing, it was a completely different conversation.
Absolutely.
And the news is so notorious for that. Until you see, Instagram and all that is news now. I mean, I get my news. I don't even turn on the news. It's too depressing. Like, I need to focus on what's going on. Is it affecting me? Then okay. But that's the thing. And that's one of the things that people don't do is they take that extra step to see what is it all about.
Yeah.
They're just hearing, or if like I had a bad experience with someone trying to, shove Christianity down my face. But have you actually gone? Have you met a pastor there? That's why, personally, if you haven't gone into it there, guys, I recommend non-denominational church. Just as a recommendation, to my opinion, is the most lax environment, open for everybody. But you got to open the book, man. You got to open the book. Not in the sense of, open the Bible, but open the book in the sense of you got to go put yourself in that environment and really, give yourself to it,
Absolutely. And part of that is going to be like, if you go with the intention of saying, I want to make changes in my life, I want to be challenged to some degree, I am willing to hear what's being said and to try, at the very least, try. Even if I don't try it for forever, I'm willing to try it for X amount of time. If you have a tendency towards, for me, I had a tendency towards, I'll speak on it now, and most men do have a tendency towards porn. So if you have a tendency towards porn and you go in there and you're having these conversations with other men that's talking about lust and whatnot, try out some of those things for a while. Allow yourself to have the experience of being convicted, not from a place of being pressurized, but from you just saying to yourself, let me really put in the effort to get over this thing. this thing says I shouldn't do something. Let me have the experience of trying that out fully.
Right.
Don't allow the guy you're talking to talk you into that thing, because that's where resentment comes from. Allow it to come from yourself because you want to experience that growth
From within, right?
Yeah.
And another thing is, don't be so hard on yourself, I would say, because like I said, we're human, and it's you're not going to be perfect overnight.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have some obstacles along the way. And I think that is another thing that people are too hard on themselves, so they just give up.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And you said it really good earlier. You said you just want to seek to be with him more. You want to seek his presence. People constantly, when they think of God, they think of, I want to, man, God can do all these awesome things. He can make miracles happen. Like God changed me. They seek the power of God. And they don't realize that if instead of seeking the power, they sought the presence of God, just to be around him, to be near him and understanding him, to have community with him. If they sought the presence, the power comes naturally.
It comes after. They're asking for what's to come before really diving into it.
Yeah.
That's when you have those kind of people that pray for certain scenarios. Like, oh man, I hope I do good on this test, but they haven't gone to church in like forever. And it's so funny in that sense. And that, I mean, yeah, it makes you, and it's like a hit of serotonin, like you're doing something right, you know? And he's listening in a sense, but only listening so much. You got to really let him in, because that human spirit is a real thing, I believe as well.
100%.
So that's so funny that you say that, because I've never heard it like that before, because everybody wants the power of it, but they got to realize that you got to actually have that connection first. Then the power will flow.
Yes,
you know?
sir.
Like, that's massive. That was
Man.
a big gem right there.
That was a great question. Thank you for asking such a question like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you have any third element in mind there, my man?
Man, after that, I don't know. We dove into that one pretty good.
I know, right? That was pretty solid there.
Yes, man, it's been great. I just want to say thank you, man. Like, this has been awesome. Like, this is my first podcast, by the way, of doing anything like that.
Give it up for him. He did real good. I got hand claps going. You can't hear it.
Okay, that's all right. No, I appreciate it though. I've been wanting to do something like this for my own stuff, for like business and getting that kind of education out. But at the same time, I'm also a big proponent on giving back. And if that means being able to be on a podcast like this, where you're talking to other men that are going to be at our age at some time, we want them. The whole goal, I mean, at least speaking for myself, being on this podcast was when I got in, like, the itinerary in a sense was like, this is an opportunity for me to give back, because I want you to be in a better position than I am today, because your success doesn't affect me. But if I am able to influence you and be better than I am today, that's enough for me. Even if I never meet you, like, I could care less if I would love to meet you, but could care less or not. I just want to know that you are better after watching something like this, after watching Devahntau's other episodes, that you're going to come out a better man than you were yesterday.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Love that, man. And it's true, guys. Like, there are guests that come on here, and like, it can be difficult and maybe some of you guys are experiencing in life. It's even hard for you guys to talk to some of your friends, talk to some of your parents, some of the people around you. Now imagine coming and putting yourself in view of this so that people can listen to you, scrutinize you, judge you on your belief. Like, it takes gumption for people to do this. So, like, allow their suffering to be for your benefit so that you can shortcut that by simply listening and then applying instead of listening, thinking about it, ignoring it, continuing on, forgetting. Now you're in the same situation and you're thinking, oh, snap, I remember somebody told me about this. So, Omar, This is the final piece, my man. What is something that I and the audience that watches this in the future can come together around you in order to pray for you about? It can be something that you want to confess that you're struggling with, something that you are worried about, or anything that you're excited about that you want to seek the presence of God for going forward.
No, absolutely. That's great. Like, I'll be like a little transparent here. In the industry that I'm in, there's good and there's bad. And first getting into the industry on the side that I'm on now, it was bad. Like in the company I was with. Okay. So I had to, my morals came first, and the money was good, but I had to be like, no, I need to actually do this right with integrity. Instead of getting into another company, I'm like, I'm going to be working for myself, right? And that's been a few months now. So the biggest prayer right now would be moving forward.
Yeah.
While we're on this new biggest chapter of my life, is just really being able to help as many people as I can. Pray for my team as we are embarking on this new way of helping people that we can't talk about yet, but it's going to allow us to, help those. But I would actually pray for more open-minded people, that are going to be more receptive to what we have to offer them in that sense, because I want to make sure that we are helping as many people as we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Audience, so at this time, if you could please join me in prayer for our man, Omar. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that you have given us, that we have been allowed to come together to be able to enjoy everything that you bless us with, as far as whether it's equipment, whether it's the tools to be able to meet together, whether it's the availability to be able to come together so that we can just speak about what is going on that we have experienced, and we can be able to share that with an audience of people that desires to learn, to grow, and that if it is up to us to seek you out and to come to know your power more, Lord, we thank you that we've been blessed in such a way. Lord, we want to pray at this time for Omar as he and his team are stepping into this new large chapter of their lives, of their careers, Lord. We just pray that you would take the lead in this, that you would be with them, you'd be guiding them, and allowing them to have encounters that are blessed by you, Lord. That you would put people in their faces, in the rooms of places that they attend, that they can meet up with and be able to have these conversations with, and that they can just strike up conversations and engagements that lead to the desires that we know that you seek, which is the betterment and the help of our fellow man. The mission that this team has, that Omar has, that they want to see go forward is something that can be of a true benefit to those that will be involved with it. So we just pray, Lord, that you would purify their hearts, purify their minds, and allow it to be focused on you and your presence, and that everyone that they would come into contact with would see and interpret exactly who they are, what their intentions are, what you have for them to collaborate on, and that they would cling to each other in moving forward in progress, moving forward in confidence and in braveheartedness, moving forward in authority and power, knowing that the mission that they have set on forth at this point is a good one, knowing that you desire for us to do good and for us to be able to do it at the same time as we help each other, and that there is not an opposition in ideals of helping and also being prosperous, but that these things can go in tandem. Dear Lord, we thank you for the audience, everyone that will come back, that will watch this, that will comment, that will engage, that will reach out, that will seek to understand deeper, Lord. And we pray that anyone that hears this podcast, that watches this, that they would take action on what they have heard today, that they won't just be viewers, Lord. I don't want to just have viewers. I want people that are taking action for themselves, for their families, and for the loved ones that they have around them, Lord. Whatever that action may be, we just pray that you would move in their hearts, that they get a little closer to you, a little closer towards the next step, that they're positioning themselves where you can move in their lives, and that they're taking full accountability towards going further in your plan for them, Lord. Yes. I pray that the audience would be blessed by this, Lord. We know that we have been. We give you all these thanks and praise in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, man. That was awesome.
Absolutely, brother.
Everybody, I hope you loved that. That was amazing. I love what Devahntau is doing here. Big time.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And you guys, I'm telling you, it has been a pleasure to have Omar on. Even just coordinating with him, setting things up, the energy that he's had this entire time has just been nothing less than absolutely encouraging, flattering. Like, this is the type of man that you want to have you want to be in the presence of. There are some people that when you're around them, it's kind of trying. And then there are some people that when you're around, you can feel yourself filling up just from the goodness and the overflow of positivity and just desire to reach for what God has. And Omar is such a gentleman.
Thank you.
If nothing else, reach out to him,
yes.
Understand what he has for you to understand, and I just wish the best for you guys.
Thank you.
So at this time, guys, I want to thank you for joining on and watching this episode. It's been a blast, and I hope that you all have a blessed Monday, that this will influence the way that you walk for the rest of the week. This is your host, Devahntau Colonel, and
Omar Johnson
signing off, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Inspired Challenge Podcast.
Yeah,
Take care, everyone.
That was great.
Oh, man. Da-da-da. All right, y'all. Peace out.